Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5 from Kyiv. Here in Kyiv, it's just past midnight. It's 5 o'clock on the East Coast in the United States. Curfew has just started. Hey, Jessica, how you doing tonight? Hey, Vanetta, Nightshade, the peeps are coming in. Hey, Cool. Hey, M. Fuller. Hey, Sharon. Hey, Steve with a V. Thanks, Steve-O. Good evening, all. Hey, Anthony Tommy Tom. Hey, Mad Mike. Hey, Simon. Hey, Cheyenne. Hey, Bobby. Hey, Joe, what do you know? So the peeps are coming in. Today is Monday, July the 29th, day 891 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. I want to start with some good news. Congratulations, big congratulations go out to Olya Karlan, who won the first Olympic medal for the Ukrainians with the bronze in saber fencing. So congratulations to Olya and the Ukrainians on their first, hey Trash Hunter, on their first Olympic medal win. Some more good news following the Ukrainian win in the saber division. Hey Webadeb, the temperature here has cooled off significantly, about 10 degrees Celsius, about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's down to a very, very comfortable temperature, which means people are not running their air conditionings and the power outages have been canceled. So the power was out this morning for just a couple hours. But other than that, we had power all day. And so that's a good sign for the recovery of the grid. It means that without the additional stress of air conditioning, the grid can function. And so we're getting there. Hey, G2, how you doing? Okay. On the front line, the heaviest fighting continues around Pokrovsk. Oh, sorry about that. Gravity, it's not just a good idea, it is the law. Hey, Blue Ariels. Hey, Dive Hard. Let's see, is this thing going to stay up here now? Hey, CyberDoc. All right, keep your fingers crossed. The heaviest fighting continues around Pokrovsk, with the Ukrainian defenders fighting off 52 offensive attacks by the Russian forces in the last 24 hours. There is some disagreement about the condition of the front in western Zaporizhia. The ISW, the American DC-based think tank, that provides insight into the war in Ukraine, has said that Russian forces have recaptured Robotyne. However, Kyiv is denying this claim. The spokesperson for the Tavria group stated that there have been no significant changes to the frontline map in that region. So we're experiencing a little bit of fog of war there, guys. There's no doubt that what's happening on the front is that the Russians are desperate to get as much land as they possibly can get before they are forced to the peace negotiation table. Their goal is to freeze the conflict there, right? So they want to get every inch of ground that they can get in the meantime. And they are not afraid to expend lives of their people to do it, as we see from a daily casualty count of over 1,000 for the last 3 months running. 3 months running. Insanity. Absolute insanity. Last night, Ukraine shot down 9 out of 10 Shahed drones, while Russia claimed it had shot down 39. 4 times as many. All right? 19 over Kursk, 9 over Belgorod, 5 over Bryansk, and 3 over Leningrad and Voronezh, respectively. In Kursk, the drone attack over the weekend hit an oil depot and 3 oil tanks burned. Those are the big storage tanks. In Belgorod and Oriel, power substations were targeted, leading to blackouts in the regions over the weekend. Saturday morning, the Russians woke up to an unprecedented drone attack against air bases. The Dyagilev airfield, the Engels airfield, and the Olenia airfield in Murmansk were targeted. Now, we don't have good information on what was hit, if anything. It has been claimed by the Ukrainians that they hit 3 helicopters on the ground in Dyagilevo. It is claimed by the Ukrainians that they hit 1 Tu-22M3 supersonic bomber out of Murmansk. Now, if that's true, that's a big hit. It is thought that the Russians had 58 of these at the start of the war, with maybe about half of them being airworthy. So that's about 29. And we know that the Ukrainians have destroyed 3 on the ground in various attacks in both Belarus and in Russia. Now, those Tu-22Ms, those backfire bombers as they are called, are supersonic bombers designed not just to carry cruise missiles, but designed to carry nuclear weapons, should that eventuality arise. And they cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and they cannot be replaced because they are not currently being made. And so the Russians are just cannibalizing the fleet to keep what they've still got in the air. Murmansk, the Olenia air base just outside of Murmansk, is 1,800 kilometers from Ukraine, over 1,100 miles. And somehow the Ukrainians managed to pilot their drones there and hit that airbase. It was quite a weekend, boy. Not only did we see the oil depot in Kursk, the substations in Belgorod and Oriel, the attacks against the air bases, but we also saw the refinery at Ryazan struck again. And that's one of the larger refineries in Ukraine. We have yet to get word on what was hit or whether or not there was any damage that would shut the refinery down. Only 200 kilometers from Norway, says Trash Hunter, referring to the Murmansk air base. There was actually, I didn't include it here, but I did read some commentary from Helsinki in which the officials speaking for the government in Finland said they were unconcerned about such attacks on their neighbor and expressed confidence in the Ukrainians to direct the drones appropriately. The Center for Continuing Disinformation at the National Security Council has alerted us to the next Russian disinformation campaign. It is broadly being called Black Winter. And essentially, it is intended to instill fear and panic in the Ukrainian civilian population that there won't be heating and electricity this winter. So it's the Black Winter campaign. But it doesn't just include sowing fear and disinformation among the Ukrainian population over heating. There is another aspect to this that they're calling inevitable loss. That the reality is that Ukraine cannot win, that Russia is destined to win this thing, and it is foolish for the Ukrainians to keep fighting, that they should surrender immediately. Again, Russian disinformation. The third component of the disinformation campaign is about the impending economic crisis for Ukraine, which, frankly, this country has taken it on the chin economically. Gross domestic product down about 46%, interest rates, or rather the level of inflation, running a little bit higher than much of the West at around, I think the last number I saw was 6.75% annually. So there are legitimate concerns about the economic realities of Ukraine. These are being exacerbated into impending, like Peter Zahan. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Peter Zahan, but the guy is just a doomer, right? Like, he's predicted the collapse of the Chinese economy every year for the last 7 years, and it has yet to collapse. So there are problems here, don't get me wrong. But this idea that there is an imminent economic crisis, I don't see any analysts suggesting that that's the case for Ukraine. There has been a grim update from the Prosecutor General's office here in Kyiv. According to the Prosecutor General, 564 Ukrainian children have been unalived and 1,487 have been injured since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. These are mostly in Donetsk. 2/3 of the children that have been harmed by this are in the Donbass, who are the people that the Russians are supposed to be liberating and saving, right? It's outrageous. It's 2,000 children that we know of. And that doesn't count the 20,000 likely that have been abducted to Russia and are currently being sold on the black market there. The Washington Post had a very interesting article today on the F-16s. According to this article, the F-16s will turn up in Ukraine next month. Now, look, we've been hearing that since December, right? Oh, they'll be there in January. Oh, they'll be there in February. Oh, March, April, May, June, fucking July, August, right? Now, according to sources cited in the Washington Post, they will arrive next month. However, there will only be 6 pilots. This is what they're saying publicly, that there will only be 6 pilots. An unnamed source in Kyiv expressed frustration that the Russians have so many air defenses up and is afraid that this is too little too late with the F-16s. I thought that was an interesting sentiment, that the Russians have so many air defenses up. Every day we see the Ukrainians hit air defenses. And apparently that is because there are so many of them. Despite there being so many of them, there are plenty of holes there that the drones, the low-flying small drones, get through every single day. We see that happening. But for planes, the targets that those air defenses were built for, where the proximity fuse isn't going to fail to detonate when it's next to a plane, as it does next to a little drone, the great fear is that those F-16s are going to have very short life expectancies. And guys, I think it's important that when the F-16s show up and they start getting taken out, that nobody freaks out. F-16s are going to be lost in Ukraine. There's no doubt about it. That's going to happen. Right? The damage that they do in the meantime is what's going to be critical for the Ukrainians. Wagner mercenaries in Mali in the Sahara were ambushed, and the entire company, somewhere between 50 and 80 Wagner mercenaries, were unalived. This was a joint operation. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but this was a joint operation of Al-Qaeda and the Tuareg forces. Those are the local rebels that are opposed to the Russian Wagner-backed junta. Apparently, a retreating Tuareg, I'm saying that wrong, I'm so sorry, assault group lured the Wagner forces into an ambush where they were destroyed. And so Wagner has taken it on the chin in Africa from the locals in Al-Qaeda. Now, I never thought that I would say this, but there was a video, okay, Kompska there is talking about the aftermath footage from that, which was horrendous, right? Just bodies everywhere. But more weird, strange, I don't know what to call it, but was seeing those Al-Qaeda fighters holding up a Ukrainian flag and giving a big thumbs up. That was strange to me. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, apparently, is the thinking there. And I don't know why. I mean, Al-Qaeda's been fighting Wagner in Mali for a long time. This is not the first time they've ambushed Wagner forces. It's the first time, though, we saw them hold up a Ukrainian flag. And one cannot help but wonder if maybe Ukraine didn't help plan that mission. I don't know the answer to that, but it is curious that they were grateful to the Ukrainians or expressing a solidarity with the Ukrainians. Not the kind of friends you want to have, frankly. The U.S., now this is curious to me because the U.S. has announced a new aid package that's getting a lot of press. It's a $200 million package. It includes some air defense systems, HIMARS ammo, 120 millimeter mortar rounds, and Javelin anti-tank weapons. And that's what's in all the press. But the DOD also unveiled a $1.5 billion package. Again, this is all part of the $60 billion drawdown. That includes NASAMS, short and medium range anti-aircraft ammo, RIM-7 anti-aircraft missiles, small arms, TOW anti-tank missiles, electronic warfare systems, and 155 and 105 millimeter shells. And so more of what Ukraine needs more than ever is on the way. Thank God. Now, this, I think, is very interesting because, we talk a lot about the frozen Russian assets, right? But it's important to remember, guys, when we talk about the $324 billion in frozen Russian assets, that is frozen Russian asset. That is cash that belongs to the Russian government that they were storing as reserve currency in the West, right? So it's the Russian government's money, those frozen assets. These frozen assets that we're going to talk about now are individual assets. So these are the individuals that belong to sanctioned people. These are assets that belong to sanctioned people. And the process of seizing those assets appears to have begun in some earnest. In Italy, the Italians have seized 41 million euros from a Ukrainian oligarch who is charged with money laundering, fraud, and bribery here in Ukraine. In the UK, 750,000 pounds, just shy of $1 million, has been seized from the former Minister of Foreign Economic Relationships and former president of Alpha Bank, who currently sits on the board of ABH Holdings, and what's his name? Peter Avin. Now, here's the thing about Peter Avin and his companies. Alpha Bank and ABH Holdings were both victims over the past week of a massive cyber attack by the Ukrainians, shutting down customer access to ATMs, to their bank accounts, to their online banking, etc. And so Peter Avin is not just being investigated by the British as part of a sanctions evasion probe, but his businesses are also being subverted by the Ukrainians in real time. Let's be honest. We often joke about the Black Sea Fleet in here, don't we? I mean, we've had a great time talking about the promotion of boats to submarines and to coral reef starter kits, and watching as a third of the Black Sea Fleet is made not seaworthy or sent to the bottom of Davy Jones's locker. over half the tonnage of the Black Sea Fleet eliminated. Well, Arn, here's the thing. You know, we got to remember that the Russians had 4 Kilo-class submarines in the Black Sea. One of them, the Rostov-on-Don, we believe is damaged beyond repair, right? It's sitting in a repair bay, a repair dock over in Sevastopol, and it doesn't look like anybody's really doing any repairs. It's just sitting there along with a couple other abandoned, damaged ships. Well, let's remember the Russians had 4 Kilo-class subs in the Black Sea at the start of the war. Only one of them has been taken out. All the missile-carrying corvettes have been eliminated. And so the only ships they have that they can put missiles on are the submarines. And for the first time in months and months and months, those 3 submarines have all set to sea. And it is believed that they are each carrying a full complement of 4 caliber cruise missiles. So that's at least 12 missiles that are out to sea right now and underwater where we don't know where they are or what they might be doing or targeting. So the submarine fleet has set sail from Novorossiysk and is in the Black Sea someplace. Today was Special Operations Forces Day in Ukraine. And so quite naturally, President Zelensky went to Vovchansk to give out medals. This fucking guy, I mean, it's only the hottest part of the front line. It's only the most grinding, attritional nightmare place that you could possibly go. It's only a place where yesterday 677 shells were lobbed at the defenders and an untold number of drones and other weapons. So that's Zelensky on the front line in Vovchansk, pinning medals on the chests of the defenders who earn them and more. An Su-34 fighter crashed in Volgograd during a training mission due to what is reported to be a technical malfunction. The crew ejected safely. Now, it's important to recognize, I think, that training fast jets is a dangerous business. And we commonly see, that does not help with this message. Anyway, hey Eli, hey Maddie, right? Now, as I was saying, training fast jet pilots is not a safe or easy thing to do. And the whole business is fraught with accidents. However, in this case, I think it's important to cite the Rand Corporation's recent report that gave an analysis of how the Russians are burning through their airframes. The amount of wear and tear, the number of flight hours that these airframes are built and designed for is being wildly exceeded. And with a lack of parts, a lack of replacement parts, and having to cannibalize existing airframes to get what you need, the Russians are likely to continue to lose planes at a rate of 1 a week through accidents like this and overusage. That's according to the Rand Corporation. They estimate that Russia will lose 60 planes in this fashion, just from them wearing out over the next year. 60 planes. That's huge. That's a huge attritional loss that the Russian aerospace forces cannot afford, and that Russia itself literally cannot afford. Okay, so I think those are the headlines for today. I want to thank Chris Carter, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. I want to thank the moderator team, of course, Cheyenne, Vanetta, John Williams, Jay, and Travis. PT is on vacation this week. He's out at the lake doing some fishing. I want to thank Nightshade, who runs the Peter's Peeps group over on the Book of Faces. And I want to thank Vanetta Larid, who has the Dismantle Project 2025 group over on the Book of Faces. There was somebody else I wanted to thank. Oh, what I wanted to do was I wanted to do a shameless self-promotion on the YouTube channel. Guys, I'm 5 subscribers away from 500. If 5 people who don't follow me on YouTube could follow me on YouTube, please, that would be great. I would really appreciate that. Maddie, I saw that. Did you not see my email back? I did email you. Is it true that Ukraine is prepared to give up territories for peace talks? I would not. Hey, Bjorn, thanks, pal. Just 4 to go. Bjorn subscribed on the Tickety Talk, or on the YouTube. Thank you. Is it true that Ukraine is prepared to give up territories for peace talks? It is not true. That whole notion has been flatly rejected by the Kyiv administration. However, it is worth pointing out that war weariness is having its toll. Daily air raids, drone attacks, missile attacks, power outages have seen, when we poll the people in Ukraine and we ask them, are you prepared to give up territories for peace? When that poll was conducted a year ago, only 1 in 10 Ukrainians said yes. Today, that number has risen to 3 to 10. War weariness is setting in. That's why I think it's so important that we try to give the Ukrainians everything that they need right now. Because I just don't know how much longer the society can take it. The society is under real pressure. Damoud, over on YouTube, I spell it the way my mother did, Pytor. I've anglicized it here on the Tickety Talk, but over on the YouTube, it's Pytor. Robert, you and I are in the same camp, right? Ukraine has lost so much that to give up now would be a defeat, and it would be a win for Russia. Now, see, Bobby, that's the other thing, right? Bobby says, you think Russia is also on the brink. Bobby, I don't know. The pockets of Russia are so deep. The Soviet stockpile reserves were so deep, but they are not inexhaustible. We're watching them tick away every day. Hey, Wayne, we're watching them tick away every day. Now, I can't say when Russia's going to run out of resources. But a group of 9 economic ministers of 9 European countries recently published a paper saying that they thought that Russia had about 5.5 months left of money to fund this war. That analysis was confirmed or supported by some other analysts in the industry. Now, could they be right? They could be, right? So what would that be? That would be August, September, October, November, December. And I'm hearing a lot of talk from the diplomatic space that Russia intends to go to the peace negotiation table following the elections in November. Now, whether or not they'll come in good faith or they'll actually be willing to discuss terms that Kyiv will accept is another question. But what we cannot do is let the Russians freeze the front where it is and claim 18% of Ukraine. That if we hand Putin that kind of a win, You think that the Russian or that the Chinese and the North Koreans and the Iranians are emboldened now? We hand Putin a win. Those guys are going to be off the chain. We already got Chinese and Russians flying buzz missions into Alaskan airspace. You think they'd be emboldened like that if the Kremlin had been defeated? No. We got Iran launching missile attacks against Israel for the first time in its history. You think they'd be emboldened like that if they didn't have the backing of Mother Russia? No. No way. You got Kim Jong-un sending not just bags of garbage, but his new missile technology into the Sea of Japan. You think he'd be doing that if we'd have bitch slapped Putin back to Moscow? No. No. Hey, Ballerina. Hey, Bamba Squeezer. Romania ignoring NATO. What are Europe saying? Bamba, I assume that you are talking about the recent drone strikes inside of Romania. So this is being attributed just to drones going astray. Romania is not suggesting that Russia targeted intentionally. There have been reports that Romania shot down those drones over its own territory. Those reports are being denied by the Romanian MOD. Even though we know that there's a 7-kilometer no-flight zone from the Danube into Romania there, and we know that some air defense systems have been moved there, the Romanians are saying they did not shoot those drones down. And that they have attributed it to the irresponsible negligence of the Russian High Command. Now, that's as much as we know. What info has Putin given North Korea? It's a great question, Anthony, and we don't really know. We believe that he has supplied them with satellite technology, rocket technology, all of which translates both from space programs into weapons programs. And so the concern is that North Korea is on the verge of unleashing a nuclear-capable warhead that can reach the west coast of the United States because of the new missile technology it has acquired in exchange for weapons from Russia. Maddie Wright is going to announce something in all caps because she's so happy. What are you so happy about, Maddie Wright? Guys, big thanks to Maddie Wright. She just joined the Patreon and took advantage of the year option. So she, if you pay the Patreon for the year, you get a 10% discount, but you get the full year's membership. It was Navy Week in Russia, and they did have a very weak naval parade in St. Petersburg. Pooty did. Thank you, Bobby. That's true. Does NATO have ways to find subs? I'm sure they do. There is now, Arn. I just redid the Patreon, and I recreated all the membership levels and expanded them. And one of the options is now a one-time payment for the year, and you get a 10% discount. Did I notice the suspicious salutes? Well, they were rather Hitlery. Weren't they, Trash Hunter? I mean, they were real like Heil Putin. You are the best, Maddie. So for those of you who didn't see the video, what Nicola is talking about with the suspicious salutes is that the naval officers, all dressed in their naval whites, standing on the deck of the ship, were given a little, it was very weird. Trash Hunter says that he read that Slovakia is threatening to stop diesel to Ukraine. They are. Now, I haven't yet had a chance to take a look, Trash Hunter, at how significant that is. But that is response, of course, to the Ukrainians shutting down the Luke oil pipeline that provides Hungary with 80% of its crude oil. And I'm not sure what percentage Slovakia gets through there. But I want to point out to Slovakia that there are options for them. They can hook up to the Trans-Alpine pipeline. They can hook into the Adria pipeline through Croatia. So it's not like this is the way to go if you want to fund Putin's war. If you don't want to fund Putin's war, you say, okay, Ukraine, good job, you shut that down. We'll get our oil from over here now. There are options. That's what frustrates me about this. Can Ukraine get those subs in the Black Sea when they come up for air? Bobby, it's possible they can get them without them coming up for air now. They have a new submersible drone, which is basically like a loitering torpedo. So you can send it out into the Black Sea. It can be out there apparently for, I think, up to 6 days. And it can hunt for its target. And when it finds its target, it can execute against that target. So it would be surprising to me if there weren't underwater sea drones currently hunting those subs in the Black Sea. My guess is that they are. Now, we'll find out whether or not they're successful if those subs don't come back to port. The Poles told Hungary to get out of EU and NATO. Well, they certainly don't belong there with their current attitudes. Hey, Sharon, paper artist. It's a submarine drone. That's exactly what it is, Anthony. 2.5 years, Dave, is plenty of time to explore options, and they have options. That's the thing. So everybody, welcome to the live. This is the live at 5 from Kyiv. We've done the top news stories, and now we're taking questions and answers on any subjects related to Ukraine. Again, I want to congratulate the Ukrainians on their first Olympic medal win. Ola Korlan, I believe is her last name, took the saber fencing bronze. So congratulations to Ukraine on their first Olympic medal. Congratulations to Ukraine on keeping the lights on. The weather has cooled here by about 10 degrees Celsius, 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And because of that, people are not running their air conditioners, and so we have power. Which is great. For those of you that follow the channel, I want to say you may notice that my daily production is down on videos. And I want to tell you what are going to be my priorities. My priority is going to be the live. That's going to be my number one priority. Delivering a solid hour of intelligent, thought-provoking insight into what's happening on the ground here in Ukraine, disambiguating Russian disinformation. So that's going to be and that'll be Monday through Friday, live at 5. Then my second priority right now is the Dismantling Project 2025. I figure for that to be meaningful in any way, I've got to get it done by the end of August. And so the next couple weeks, I'm going to crank through Project 2025, and you'll see those videos not here, but on YouTube. So if you or on the Patreon. They're too long format. They're the wrong format for TikTok. You have to take the time to examine this document. So look for those videos on the Patreon. You can get a free Patreon subscription. That's an option. Thank you, Little Red Sunflower. And what will happen is when I publish on the Patreon, the videos will go there first. And then when the next video gets published, the last video will go to YouTube. And so I expect the Patreon to be ahead a day or two of what's being published on YouTube. But please follow me on YouTube. Get me to 500 subscribers, would you guys? I just need like 4 more. Somebody just followed me. Well, thanks. Hey, little red sunflower. How you doing? How can you get more traction on Project 2025? Bobby, I think that, because I'm only at the foreword so far, right? I mean, I haven't even gotten into the first chapter. I'm going to have to build up the library of those videos, work my way through. Hey, Manuel, thank you. And I'm going to have to work my way through the book. And when we build up a little base and get into it, I think that it will pick up. I think people will be interested. They'll go back and they'll watch the earlier ones, and it'll pick up. But I got to build up that base of videos first. You don't know how to find me on Facebook. You know why? Because on Facebook, my name is spelled Pytor. The only place I have it spelled Peter is here on Tickety Talk. Hey, Fitz. Nobody is worried about the Russian ships in Cuba. I mean, we sent one of our submarines to Guantanamo Bay. Trains in Russia are coming off the track all the time, Anthony. Which one are you talking about? Thanks, Marius. Yep, Bobby. Harris is looking good. I think they've actually left the port, Eli. I think that they've left and that they're headed home. Maduro is in the Philippines. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about with Maduro? Yeah, Herb. It's weird, though, to be cheering on Al-Qaeda. I'm not crazy about that, but it's like, I don't know, it's like cancer curing your cystic fibrosis. It's how do you feel happy about it? I didn't see anything about that today, Dive Hard. Where was that? That wasn't the train to Astrakhan, was it? Oh, yeah, Bobby. Now, you say passenger train, Anthony, but were they carrying civilians or were they carrying troops to the front? It does seem as though the Freedom of Russia Legion and the Russian Volunteer Corps both have cells inside of Russia that are being activated. Civilians, well, that's no good. I don't approve of that. Let's hope it was just, are they saying that it was a partisan attack, or are they just saying that the train derailed? Because there have certainly been a lot of maintenance issues with Russian trains, too. Hey, Lars, how you doing? Was that the one with the irresponsible driver who drove onto the track? A truck that went onto the line. It was a trailer on the track. Pytor. At Pytor. Sorry about the name. Alexievich. Alexievich. Tuareg are not Al-Qaeda. You're right, Herb, but the Tuareg were working with Al-Qaeda. So the Tuareg assault group, those rebels that are opposed to the Russian-backed military junta in Mali, an assault group of Tuaregs led the Wagner mercenaries, according to reports, into an ambush by Al-Qaeda. Hey, Pugga Mahone, thanks. So it was a coordinated effort that was successful. Now, again, Al-Qaeda's been fighting Wagner in Mali for a long time. And not just in Mali, in Sudan and in Libya and in other places around Africa. Wagner is causing lots of trouble in Africa. There's no doubt about it. Are some captured Wagner still being handed over to the Ukrainians? I don't know, Phoenix. You're talking about in Africa? I don't know the answer to that. You guys are the best. We exceeded our goal, and we are at 5:05 on YouTube now. Thanks. Thank you, Walter. Walter came to our show, Laughter's the Best Medicine. We streamed on the Tickety Talk on Saturday. We had our largest audience yet online, 1,000 unique viewers and 17.5 thousand likes. So I really appreciate it, everybody. I would have to say that it was the best show we've done so far. And I really appreciate everybody here that came to see it. The full show is posted on YouTube if you didn't see it. The Ukrainians really did a good job. I was very proud of Sasha, especially. This was her first show since February. And of course, we missed Tatiana. But the guys that filled in for her did a great job. And I definitely feel it was our strongest performance yet. The people there were very receptive, very interactive, and seemed to enjoy it. So I really appreciate everybody that attended online. It's entirely possible, Phoenix. I'm unaware of it. Do I know if Ukrainian soldiers are allowed to leave the country while on vacation? And to the best of my knowledge, no Ukrainian man of fighting age can leave the country without a government authorization. So they have to get some kind of an exception for their travel. And it's not easy to get, and even if you have it, there's no guarantee that you'll be permitted to leave the country. The last time I had to go to Poland, there was a guy on the bus who was very excited about his upcoming 10-day trip to Britain and Canada. And at the border, he was removed from the bus and was not permitted to go into Poland, despite having what he thought were all the required documents. So that trip did not happen for them. Thanks, Bobby. Well, it's hardly our own venue, but we have a good working relationship with those folks. And I'm grateful for that. Uncle Bud, Vanetta is making a reference to the fact that one of the many projects, because I got my fingers in a lot of projects, boy, in this country. But one of the projects that I have is a little improv stand-up group with a couple of Ukrainians. And the last Saturday of the month, we do a show down at Gonzo Bar Padil. And that's the venue. It's consistently our venue now for the last 6 months. Herb, you're probably right. I mean, I don't know that to be true, but Herb says the higher your rank, the easier to get front vacation outside of UA. He's probably right, because that's the way the world works, right? What is the local music scene like? It's very subdued right now because there's no gatherings, Walter. You can't get a lot of people together. So there's no concerts, I mean, there are plays at the Opera House and stuff like that, but I only know of one large concert held in the city the whole 16 months I've been here. It's a real problem. And then, of course, so many of the young men that would be involved in that music scene are otherwise engaged. You know? So it's tough. Now, the guy who helps us with sound for our shows, Artem, has a band called Art Power Blues Band. And they get about a gig a month, and I try to go see them when they're playing. Correct. You know Artem, Vanetta, at least tertiarily or secondhand. Yeah, Maddie, I have a problem with that. I really do. I have a problem with that. I mean, everybody knows that if the Chinese took 18% of the United States, every single American man would be in uniform. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. And I understand that the history with Ukraine is very complex and that its identity is being forged in this war. But I can't, I just can't condone anybody who runs away from this. I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong. There is something you can do. And yeah, everybody's afraid of dying. Everybody's afraid of being shot. But if you don't stand up to these people, there won't be a Ukraine. So every person that runs away in fear is actively encouraging the failure of this state rather than participating in its liberation and creating its future. Now that's different, Sharon. If you've done your service, that's a different story. I'm talking about these kids that have been handed everything, right? They'll never know what a mortgage is because they were handed their apartment because it was inherited down from the Soviet times. I just don't get it. You know, that's the thing, Nightshade. You got foreigners for whom this is not their war, but they're putting themselves in harm's way because they understand how important it is. You would think that right now, look, this is not a large percentage of the population. Most of the guys I know, they registered for the draft, they're waiting for their papers, and if they come, they will go. That's the vast bulk of the people that I know. I really only have met 2 people now. No, 3 now. 3. It became 3 the other day. I have met 3 people now that are actively hiding. Yeah, Herb, you know, I mean, what was it? It was about 20,000 Americans that fled to Canada during Vietnam, right? Now, Vietnam was a war without the moral compass of this war. That's for sure. it's, and I'm trying not to be judgy. I'm trying not to be judgy because, of course, your life is at risk. Of course it is. You're at risk of loss of limb, of life, of everything. But the fact is, everybody is subject to that loss if the Russians win. It's genocide. The Russians are intent on genocide in this country. So we got 4 minutes left, guys. Nightshade, exactly. There's a manpower shortage here. If you're a Ukrainian man out of the country when you could be here working in an ammo factory, that's a problem. That's one less man. Not everybody goes to the tip of the spear, right? It's 1 in 10 at the tip of the spear. You need for every soldier on the front line, you need 9 guys behind him. So it's definitely a cultural distinction. I mean, in the United States, right, we're very, and here that identity doesn't exist. But I believe it's being forged in this conflict. I'm aware of some Ukrainian men in my country who came in the last 2 years, though, is the rule new? No, MJ, I think what happened there was that a bunch of people got out of the country before the border was closed to them. So yes, it's a new rule, right, effective as of the full-scale invasion and the declaration of martial law. So if you got out of the country before that, February, March, maybe early April of 2022, then you were out of the country before that rule went into place. How much land has Ukraine lost in the last 2 to 3 days? Over the weekend, Marius? I mean, I don't know exactly, but I'd be very surprised if it was more than a square kilometer. The Russians are advancing, but they're advancing at an interminably slow pace. And the losses for those advances are significant. Russia has gained more land in the last 3 months than it did in the year before that. And that amount of land is 0.002% of Ukraine. I mean, these advances are not significant in any way. There has been some accelerated advance around Pokrovsk, where they've taken like 6 kilometers in 7 days, but it's a tiny, narrow little strip. It's barely a kilometer wide. So it's just this salient that's forcing its way, trying to get to the highway between Pokrovsk and Siezure, and bring that highway under artillery fire control so they can stop the Ukrainian logistics. But it's costing them, I don't want to say that. It's costing them huge to do that. Any news about F-16s? The Washington Post, pardon me. The Washington Post is reporting that the F-16s are due to arrive in August, whatever that means, but we'll only have 6 trained pilots. Guys, the Patreon info is in the bio. If some people could follow Maddie Wright's example and join the Patreon, I sure could use the help. I'm down from, I was taking in about $1,400 a month, and now it's down to about $1,200 a month. And that $200 makes a big difference. As of tomorrow, I don't have any live sponsors. If anybody wants to sponsor the live, the PayPal is in the description. And so that's it. Thanks, Bobby. It is the top of the hour. So, guys, I really appreciate you being there for me. And because you are there for me, I can be here for you. Why are there only 6 trained pilots, Jeff? Because it takes so long to train a pilot. Now, look, there have been complaints from the Ukrainians about how the F-16 training has been handled, that it's been pretty muddled by their Western allies, is what some people are saying quietly. I can't speak to that. I would like to think that everybody has given the Ukrainian pilots a best faith effort in getting them trained in the use of this incredibly complex multi-role fighter. The needs that they have for that fighter to clear the skies, to provide close air support, to run multiple interception kind of missions. It can't be an easy thing. So, Bobby, I don't know why they can't. Why couldn't they? You know, like, why can't our buddy John Kennedy, who flies F-16s and F-35s, why can't he work for the Ukrainians? I don't know the answer to that. Bomba Squeezer, I hope you're right. Bomba is saying, I think there's more, but hush, hush. Part of this may be operational security on the part of the Ukrainians. Maybe there are 18 pilots, right? And we just don't know about it. Could it be that they are trying to minimize expectations so as to maximize the results? You know, undersell, overperform. It'll make it a more decisive psychological victory over the Russians. I don't know. All of that is possible. But one thing for sure is that since December, official sources have been telling us that the fucking F-16s will be here next month, and so far they have yet to materialize. Okay, whoops. Oh, for the love of God. I hate this stupid thing. Okay. All right, so, ladies and gentlemen, other non-binary folks, thanks so much for joining me. This is the Live at 5 from Kyiv. I'm Peter Alexievich, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks so much.